People pay good money to see this movie. When they go out to a theater, they want cold sodas, hot popcorn, and no monsters in the projection booth.
Everyone pretend podcasting isn't boring.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
Testing microphone 1 2.
Coming at you live from Africa. Welcome to Uganda.
Okay, action. This is the home of the best action movies. We call it Wakaliwood.
If we need a gun, we weld it. Anything like a jib, camera stand. If you don't have one, we make it.
We wanted the white man in the movie, and we didn't know where to get the white man. And he just came in time.
I come from New York City because I see your movies.
I didn't call, I didn't email, I didn't write. I just went there to track him down.
Alan, nga ayangoma ngokutegera kinjagala ne kindaga nti alina talent. Niwakubadde nga mu martial arts yali mufu nnyo nga talinaamu.
Isaac created a new genre with me that he's excited about. It's called beating up the white person genre, and it turns out all of Uganda is just in love with it. And I think it's funny as hell.
Wow! African Tarantino.
You're the George Lucas of Uganda.
Thank you.
We think he's made 47 films in 11 years.
Isaac is at his peak creatively, and so my job is to put kerosene on the bonfire.
Things are getting interesting here.
I reached a point where I felt that I should leave this, but I'm struggling because that was my big dream.
Now we could have been the Beatles of exploding heads, man. Still can be.
What really unites us is movies.
For me, it's eye-opening.
It's happening. It's global.
With the help of my family and the Wakaliga family, I feel like I have pressed the first brick in the foundation of the Uganda film industry. So Wakaliga will live forever.
Hey folks, welcome to a very special episode of The Projection Booth. I'm your host, Mike White. On this episode, I'm talking about the film Once Upon a Time in Uganda. It is a documentary directed by Cathryne Czubek, and it stars the one and only auteur himself, Isaac Nabwana. He is the director of such things as Bad Black, Who Killed Captain Alex, and about 30 other films, I think. He is a very prolific director from Wakaliga, which is the name given to from Uganda, or at least of Nabwana I.G.G. It's a great documentary. It is coming around through the Alamo Draft House releasing, so you can see it there. It will be out via streaming starting July 25th, 2023. Find out more at onceuponatimeinuganda.com. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the interview. Cathryne, I'm going to start with you and ask you, how did this project come to be?
So I learned about Isaac's story back in 2012. Al had just gotten back from his first trip to Uganda, and I met him at a film event, and he was vibrating with excitement about this story. And once he told me the story, I can't imagine any filmmaker, any storyteller not being interested in what Isaac was building in Wakaliga. And so it wasn't until 2015, like 3 years later, that we were actually able to go to Uganda. You know, you always wonder if a story is as wonderful as it is, will it be as good in person? And it was so much more. It blew me away. So I fell completely in love with Isaac and his family and the entire community and his journey. And it was just a real privilege for me as a storyteller to be able to tell the story of Isaac and his journey into the rise of success, because there's so much that goes into it. People have a really specific idea when they think of like, oh, you make film or you've become successful, you're on like it's a one red carpet story or whatever, and they think everything's success, but there's so much that goes into being an artist. It was a complete privilege for me to be able to tell this story.
And Isaac, how was it for you when these strange people come over and say, hey, we want to make a documentary about you?
First of all, it was an opportunity for me. I reached a time that I wanted to tell my story. And, you need people who come to you and you get trust them. And then you say, oh, these are the right people to tell my story. And I think they're good people anyway. They came to me and they're, you just look at them and you share them. I'm very good at spotting people anyway. if you look at what I've been doing, I look at you and oh, this guy is good. But anyway, it was basically good for me. When they came here, I had already received so many people, almost from different parts of the world. So I was used to people, but there was also something I never sometimes would not like the media here in Uganda, whereby someone reported my story on a phone. He's a Ugandan, just a few kilometers away from where I am. So he decided to call me, and I gave him my story. So what he did, he misspelled my name. I remember Ernest Serunya, it was called Ernest Sebunya. Wilson Kakule, it was called Wilson Kalule. So there are so many mistakes he made. I see that story on internet and I was like, why can't he come to me? And then I give him exactly what, why should you call, instead of coming? When someone come to you and you feel like you're going to give him exactly, you feel him or her, and then you feel each other. Then, calling. So I was so happy when they said, we want to make a story with you here at Wakaliga.
Wakaliga, is it like a suburb of Kampala? Like, how does that work in relation to Kampala?
Yeah, it is a suburb of Kampala. It is a suburb of Kampala. It is in, Kampala is comprised of 5 divisions, but we are in one of the division called the Rubaga division. Yeah, we are on 4 miles away from the center. So Rubaga is Kampala is 5 square miles. So we are on the 4th mile of Kampala from the center.
Can I just point out too, like if you Google Wakaliga, it will come up with Wakaliwood Road. Isaac, tell the story of how your road was named Wakaliwood Road.
Because so many people have been coming here, especially people from outside Uganda. That alone has made the community to decide that they should give me at least a lot somewhere. So because they feel like I've added something, I think, to the community. First of all, it was people used to come and gather here, Ugandans, not outsiders, and they were like, what is done here? What is done here? Especially, I used to have these dreadlocks guys. Some of them mistake them for being thieves. It's like a hive of thieves. But now it became something. When it exploded, people started coming from all over the world, and they, wait a minute, these are good people. They bring in people from, and the hotels around me have been accommodating people from all over the world. It is something which has added, I think, to the community, and I think that's why they decided to give me a lot, a rent here and a lot.
What made you pick up a camera the first time? What was your inspiration to make your first movies?
Yeah, the inspiration is a long story because I can't say that it was one. It is a link. It is a link of stories. It starts from childhood, where I used to draw a lot in exercise books, and I remember when I was drawing one day, when my grandfather found me drawing, and he said, "You are an artist." And that alone has been in my ears, and I was always boasting, telling my brothers and sisters I'm an artist, because I didn't know what I was saying anyway. At that time, I didn't know, because my grandfather told me you're an artist, but I didn't know what exactly he meant, because this is talent. You just draw and you just don't know where it comes from, because it's a talent. But also I would also link it to my brother, who used to go and watch movies, because I did not get a chance of going to watch movies in cinema halls, which were coming up those days, local cinema halls, not this, Indian cinema halls, but these local cinema halls were coming in this area in the 80s. So we were not allowed as children to go and watch movies because of, violence, especially sex violence in cinema halls. And also, if you get addicted to going to cinema hall, you never want to go to school. So our parents never wanted us to go to watch movies. So my brother used to sneak in and come back and tell you a story. So I remember him, demonstrating, like, boom, Buddy Spencer, crushing people, Wang Giyo, Bruce Lee, he came with those names. I still have them. I remember that story of Wild Geese. I think it is Roger Moore. You feel the movie, the way he used to demonstrate them. And as an artist, for me, even up to now, it is the inspiration of him demonstrating. I like that, the way he does it. I used to do it. Like also the signpost outside the cinema hall. And you see Chuck Norris, he has a cab, like a cowboy, but holding a big gun. So you just imagine what will come out of this gun. So there are so many, inspiring, stories I used to, which are, linking me to that. Also, the magazine, which we found out in 1986, it was a Chinese magazine, sports magazine. At the end, you could find, the movement of kung fu movements. And then we taught ourselves from the magazines, the Wuchua, Nanchuan, and other styles. So we know them now. We are masters, especially Robert is a master. So all that, there are so many things which I can't imagine. There are so many, like there's another magazine which used to come from Kenya. It was called Spear. It was like a comic, but a real human being, like a detective, story. They used to draw like a comic. A story used to run like a comic, but with real human being. So I remember that guy with, a cap and a shoot, and he was like a good fighter. So there are so many. And also another one came from Nigeria. I think the guy was called Ferris Fang. I don't see those magazines anymore, but I mean, they all inspired us. And we wanted to be, stars in the 80s, but we did not have the means of, becoming. I remember I used to do a lot of somersaults. There are so many inspirations, anyway.
Cathryne, kind of the same question for you. What inspired you to become a filmmaker as well?
I am self-taught. I did not go to film school. I did not have planned to become a filmmaker. I was on a very different path and then realized it wasn't what I wanted to be doing. And my dad had a homemade kind of dark room when I was growing up, and I used to develop photographs with him and make photos. So photography was kind of my inspiration, and I started down that path. I was working at a work-study program up in Maine and fell upon a few documentary stories and I became very interested in documentary. I didn't like so much. I was in a program for more like fine art, but that wasn't the storytelling that was pulling my heartstrings, but documentary was. And I loved finding stories and telling the stories and celebrating those stories. And so it was really a first photography project, and then a mentor I had at the time who just told me when I was trying to figure it out, I was doing all these interactive components, and he was like, just make the film, And so it was great because I was like, I didn't feel I had the confidence to learn a video camera. It was a moving images. So it was really wonderful. I just needed that one little push from someone I trusted to go and learn and figure it out and start learning it out. So my very first film I made was DIY. I did everything myself and then brought in people when I could. But that's how I learned to make movies. It was just trial and error. Make the mistakes and find the solutions and learn how to tell stories and find what works and learn when your audience is feeling something. And just, it's like, that's what I love about the filmmaking process is you're constantly growing and you're constantly learning.
How is it as a filmmaker making a film about another filmmaker? What were some of the challenges and rewards of that?
Oh, it's an absolute joy. I get to celebrate in Isaac's story. I think Isaac's story is and because the time period I was there from like when we first went there, it was very much what I feel when I do kind of like a 48-hour film challenge with some friends, and you go in, and it's just this unbridled. you're not limited by ideas of client or success or fame or money or whatever. It's just this pure kinetic energy of the creative hive that is your team. And that is something that you lose a lot when you're trying to just survive as an artist, you're trying to build a career. But whenever you can kind of go back to that and find that moment of just like that unbridled joy of creating art with people you love, it's one of the most magical feelings in the world. It is whenever I want to quit doing what I want to do, because it's so hard, that I always kind of go back to that moment. Yeah, so that's what I found in Isaac's story, and watching them and being able to film that and celebrate that was something really, but not ignore how the hardships and how difficult it is and how you have to get past those and work through them, because that's such a big part of not just filmmaking, that's of anyone having any dream and trying to realize any dream. So that was what was so special about being able to tell the story with Isaac. And just as a filmmaker, because Isaac and his team were all filmmakers, it was such a collaborative journey. I remember when I was reading the story, and when you see the film, and Isaac is showing how he used to make a projector with his friends when he was little, and then recreates that moment in our film for his children. I remember going through transcripts and reading, and I was like, "Is that what I'm reading? I think is he telling a story about like making a projector and showing and watching film this way?" And it was so incredible. So I would bring those stories to Isaac, and Isaac would kind of translate them in his own way. So it was so much fun to like break all the documentary rules and collaborate and kind of come up with ways of telling these really beautiful parts of the journey.
Now, can you tell me the kind of journey of the documentary overall? You've won a lot of awards, actually. Those are starting in 2021. Obviously, it's 2023 now. So what's kind of the life of the film?
I've joked that it's been like trying to kill me for the last 2 years, but no. So we started 2015. We were due to premiere at South by Southwest in 2020. The pandemic sidelined, COVID sidelined everything. So but I'm glad a lot of people were very nervous about what to do with their artwork during that time. And there was like a huge rush to kind of put it out there. Everyone's in front of their devices and consuming stuff. But for me, it was so important because of the experience I had with Isaac and watching his films with an audience. And my film, I felt like I wanted to do a tribute. It was, this is a love letter to Wakaliwood, a love letter to the art of filmmaking. And I wanted to wait to see if we could have an audience present. So we held out. Luckily, we found some partners that were willing to kind of join us in this energy of this experience we want to create with this summer in order to be interactive. Because the one thing that is so wonderful about Wakaliwood and Isaac and his team is that they are so interactive with their audience. And I think that it's something that's lost a lot when people get carried away with pressure of succeeding or the pressures of getting it out there, or the pressures of getting it seen. Like there's so much going on, but that connection with audience is one of the most beautiful things in the world that Isaac does with his work. And it's something that I wanted to make sure that our documentary could also do.
Isaac, I've got two real quick questions for you because I know we're running out of time. But one, can you tell me where's the best place for people to actually see your films, to be able to get access? And two, can you tell me the relationship of DJs with your films? Because I've heard about like DJ culture in Uganda, and I'm totally unfamiliar with it.
We have movies on Amazon, like OK Captain Alex, I think, and Bad Black. I've forgotten the company. Agafa, I think. Agafa is distributing them in the outside Uganda. You can also watch OK Captain Alex on YouTube. It's free. And I think Bad Black, I think so. You can, I don't know, but you can watch at least OK Captain Alex on. You can also, go on our social media platform. You find something. Like also the Patreon also. You can look at Patreon. You also see some footage, especially the new OK Captain Alex Part 2. There is that clip which I've, given out on my Patreon page. I think people should see what is coming, the fire, no fire coming. Yeah. The relationship between my movies and VJ. VJ is video joker. That is that person who speaks on top of the movie. We call him VJ here in Uganda, and I think it started here in Uganda in the 80s. The first VJ is, I believe, the first VJ, because we all don't know who was the first VJ, but the first VJ was my classmate. The first we knew in this area was called Chiwanuka. He was my classmate in 1985. Later on, in 1986, 87, 88, I started hearing the VJ, but because I did not go to cinema hall, but Robert would come and say, oh, it's your brother, it's your friend, your classmate. I mean, it's Chiwanuka who is doing it. So that when it came, I think it came as, the VJ came as an interpreter of especially Chinese movies. At least we could listen a little, understand a little of English, though we needed someone also to explain more what the Hollywood movies meant, the Bollywood movie, the movies from Hong Kong. We didn't know anything about what they were talking about. Anyway, our English was not good also. So we needed someone to translate. But these guys came with a trick of, spicing the movie with a lot of jokes. To understand it, yes, it's good you understand, but you also needed a joke. I mean, something, spicing. It's like spicing and sweet to make it more interesting. So that is the meaning of a VJ in Uganda. So for me, it is VJ Emmy, the first VJ to do a Ugandan movie. It was VJ Emmy, and it was in Luganda. Our language is in Luganda, so it first did it in Luganda. And that movie became a new movie. I had already taken it all over the country. And people were like, in fact, I brought a VJ as a means of, it was a marketing strategy. When I realized that the youth, which is, the youth have 75% of our population. So when I realized that the youth are not watching my movie because they normally don't have TVs at home, they always hang up in the cinema halls in the evening. These are the border guys and others. So I realized that they don't watch my movies. And when I put my movies in the cinema hall, because they did not have VJ, they were rejected. So I realized, I needed a VJ. So that's why I went to VJ Emmy. And then when I talked to him, he was like, I can't do it. So Uganda, why do I do it? Uganda, translated Uganda into Uganda. But when he did it before the audience, I tell you, it was mass. People were like, ah! And it was like an American movie in that sense, because they were used to Western movies. So that is how Emmy realized that it is very important, and it was also fun making a Ugandan movie into a VJ movie. So that is how VJ Emmy became, our VJ, and now is very famous for VJing Ugandan movies. There's other VJs in Uganda, but for him, he's very famous for Ugandan movies, and that's why he's very famous, especially with the ladies, because ladies are our big, fan base.
Isaac, Cathryne, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate this. It was such a blast talking with both of you.
Thank you. We're talkers, so it was really fun.